Hey, hello, welcome to the TheShaunShow, episode 7. Talking about week 5 NFL football. Let's get straight into it. We're not going to mess around tonight. Alright, so here's the agenda. We're going to start off with the week 4 sim results, and we're going to go into the week 5 sim predictions, against the spread picks, lines we like, and then our bets. Let's get into this. Alright, for those of you who are new to the channel, before the season started, during preseason, before the Micah Parsons trade, before Trey Hendrickson signing with the Bengals, before all of the injuries that we've learned about, we created a simulation of the season. We picked every game, and we picked all of the teams that we thought were going to the playoffs and their seeds. If you want to know more about that, go and watch an earlier episode of Season 2 of TheShaunShow, and you will see that. But we're going to go over the week 4 results. This week the sim went 8-7. We're not counting the bye, or the tie, sorry, between Green Bay and the Dallas Cowboys. The pick rate was 53.3. Not bad, not bad. Alright, so Thursday Night Football. Sim picked Cardinals. Sim was wrong. In Dublin, Sim picked the Steelers, and it was right. It lost when it chose Washington. Chose the Bills, chose the Texans, New England at home. You know, Philadelphia going into Tampa Bay. Picked the Chiefs to beat the Baltimore Ravens. Picked the Bears to beat the Raiders before the start of this season. Knowing what you know about the Raiders now, seems like an obvious pick. The Jets lost to the Miami Dolphins. I think that was a bit of a close game though. And then the Denver Broncos took down the Cincinnati Bengals and Jake Browning. Everything else there was wrong, but most everything there was a close game. New York Giants upsetting the Chargers last week as well. That was huge. And that was huge. Alright, let's go into this week's picks for the sim. I've also been saying if I agree with the sim at this point in the season, but I'm not tracking that. So on the season, the sim is for straight up wins and losses, 37 and 27. We're not counting the tie, obviously. I'm going to go back a second. As you can see, where I have Green Bay and Dallas, I have tie, and then both teams win. Now in this scenario, I know it feels like a loss. It feels kind of shitty for everybody, but if you have the same number of wins, if you've had a tie and you have the same number of wins as a team that has the same number of games as you have a better record because you have one less loss. This could be a big thing when we're talking about who makes it into the playoffs and who doesn't, who's seeded into the playoffs where. This could be a big thing, so just keep your eye out for that. I do need to make a longer video about it, but for the time being, we're just going to put a pin in it. Next up, Week 5 simulation. The sim chose the San Francisco 49ers to beat the LA Rams. It did think that there was going to be a George Kittle. It did think that there was going to be a Brock Purdy in that game, but both were missing and both did not matter. San Francisco winning in overtime, I believe. My God. Winning in overtime with a field goal, and then the LA Rams had a chance to kind of beat it or match it, but they got held on a 4th down instead of going for a kick. And that was the game. San Francisco taking it away. Alright, the simulation has chosen Minnesota in London to take on the Browns. This is a tough one, right? Because Minnesota's O-line is kind of ranked mid of the pack. Mid-pack. If you check out some sites, it might say they're 0 for this week, or at least the 32nd ranked O-line. And the Cleveland Browns has the best defense in the league, so this one's a bit shoddy. I'll probably stick with Minnesota. I don't think they've lost a game overseas, and they've been there since last week, whereas the Cleveland Browns are traveling over there now. Next up, the sim has chosen the Baltimore Ravens. The sim didn't know that Lamar Jackson was going to get hurt. It didn't take Lamar into account when taking into injuries. I am inclined to possibly go with the Texans here. This is a really tough one. Texans O-line is horrible. Cooper Rush is starting for the Baltimore Ravens. I think he's 9-5-0 in his starting career. Never had a passer rating over 65.7 or something like that. Be interesting to see what happens here. I'm going to go with the Texans, despite what the simulation picks. The simulation has also picked the Carolina Panthers at home against the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to go with the Dolphins here. They are a little banged up, but I'm still going to go with them. We're going to talk about the specifics of these games in the against the spread section of the show today. So I'm just going to rush through this one. All right, the sim has picked the Colts versus the Raiders. I do agree with that. It's picked the Giants going into New Orleans. I do agree with that. It's picked the Jets versus the Cowboys. Now, I didn't realize this was in the Factory of Sadness. I'm going to go with the Cowboys here myself. Next up, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles beating the visiting Denver Broncos. We've got the Cardinals over Tennessee Titans. I'm agreeing with all of this. Next, we've got Tampa Bay going into Seattle and taking the win there. This is where I diverge a little bit. I will talk about that in the against the spread section, but I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this matchup. Next up, we've got the Lions destroying a broken Bengals team with no Joe Burrows. We've got Washington going into the Chargers and beating them. I'm on the other side of this one myself. Jaden Daniels is back this week, but I'm still going with Chargers at home. The Bills against the Patriots has picked the Bills. I'm sticking with that one as well. And then it's got the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Jacksonville Jags in Jacksonville. I'm actually going against this one. I'm going with the Jacksonville Jags in this game. Now, we do have the Steelers, the Packers, Atlanta Falcons, and the Bears on a bye week. So there is that as well. Now let's move on to the against the spread, where I've actually got some things to say here. Alright. As we know, San Francisco beat LA. Now, the Minnesota Vikings are favored here. It's not truly a home game for the Cleveland Browns. It is an away game for the Minnesota Vikings, and that got me thinking. Last week they were also away, so I guess as a deal with the NFL to play 2 games overseas, they said, hey, we'll have them consecutively, that's fine, but we want them both to be away games. We want 2 games in Minnesota up our sleeve, so thank you. And I guess that's how the cookie crumbled. Now, this is a London game. Carson Wentz versus Dylan Gabriel. Minnesota has a tackle, a guard, and 2 centers out. They are all starters and backups. They also have a linebacker, Van Ginkel, out. And these are all starters. I am going with the Browns here. I forgot what I picked before, but fuck it. I'm going with the Browns. Dylan Gabriel is the NCAA all-time leader in passing touchdowns. That doesn't mean anything because Case Keenum is also tied with him. So, you know how I feel about that guy. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns here, simply because that O-line is so banged up with Minnesota. Next, we've got Houston being favored 1.5 points against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore because Cooper Rush is starting again. He's 9-5-0 in his career. The secondary and the linebackers have injuries in Baltimore, and they are out. The Ravens defense has taken 9 passing TDs to the Texans 3, so it's good place to pick the Texans, and I have picked the Texans here at -1.5. I think they can win this game. Next, we've got the Miami Dolphins favored against the Carolina Panthers. They're getting 1.5 points as the visitors. Now, look, I've gone with Miami here. Don't have much to say. Miami is healthier. I don't really have too much other reasoning. Carolina has not looked. They've just not won games, and when they've lost, they've got their asses actually handed to them. Darren Waller is in. He's got 2 touchdowns on 2 red zone targets. He was on the hands team last week, so kind of big showing up for him. Jalen Waddle also stepping in huge. with Tyreek Hill getting that dislocated knee injury and surgery last week. So yeah, I think Waddle's going to show up huge in this game. Going with the Miami Dolphins. Next, we've got the Raiders going into the Indianapolis Colts. 6.5 points for the Colts here. The Colts are a little beat up, but Geno Smith does have 7 interceptions through 4 games. So I'm going with the Colts here. Yeah, the Raiders just aren't what we thought they were going to be, unfortunately. Next game of the week, we've got the New York Giants going into the New Orleans to versus the Saints. Coming off a nice win, the New York Giants are feeling good with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo. 1.5 points here for the home team. This is an interesting one. So the Giants D has given up 5 passing touchdowns and 6 rushing touchdowns. The Saints have done 9 passing touchdowns to 5 and 4 rushing touchdowns to 6. The defense for the New Orleans Saints is a little better on the rushing side. They are holding teams to 4 yards per carry, while the New York Giants are letting teams get 6.1 yards per carry. They've collected 3 interceptions, but New Orleans Saints have only picked up 1. Now I'm going with the Giants here, plus 1.5. I think they can actually win this game. I do like them as a favorite dog in this game. Next up, we do have Dallas going into New York to get 1.5 points there. This is the Factory of Sadness 2.0. Dallas wins this game. Probably going to be a pretty high scoring game though. Next, we've got Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Denver Broncos. Philadelphia getting 4.5 points at home. I don't have too much to say about this. No real notable players are out. It's Philly at home. They're a really hard team to beat. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles minus 4.5 points. Next, we've got Tennessee Titans going into Arizona. Arizona getting 7.5 points here. I am going with the Cardinals. The Titans O-line is beat up, and the Cardinals' largest spread this year has been a 7-point win. So I'm not so sure about the spread here. And that 7-point win was against the New Orleans Saints as well, and they're not. Yeah, it's a tough call. The Titans have been getting slapped when they've been losing though, so 7.5 points might not be that much this week. Just need Marvin Harrison Jr. to get those hands short, get those hands right. Catch the ball, man. Stop dropping the ball. Next, we've got Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into Seattle to take on the Seahawks and the 13th man. The 12th man, I don't know what they call it. Seahawks are getting 3.5 points at home. So there are injuries on either side here. Players are out. Notably on the Buccaneers, they do have, I think it's Bucky Irving, their running back. He is out. Mike Evans is also out. Tampa Bay's secondary is missing 3 players. I think it's 2 cornerbacks and a safety. Seahawks outs are spread across the position group, so no one's really losing it out too heavily on the Seahawks side, whereas Tampa Bay's defense is kind of a bit rough. Now the Bucs have only given up 3.5 yards per carry in a rush game, whereas the Seahawks have given up 3.3 as the Bucs have been given up, whereas the Seahawks have only given up 3.6, so it's fairly close. The difference here in the Russian defense game is that the Bucs have given up 3 rushing touchdowns and the Seahawks have given up 0. The Seahawks also have 7 interceptions on the season. The thing is, the Bucs know how to win. The Bucs do know how to win. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks have actually been rocking it up. They're both 3-1. Another little point to mention here, and I am swaying with the Seahawks. I am going with the Seahawks. Tampa Bay has a 0-point differential, meaning they've scored as many points as they've taken, whereas Seattle is on a plus 44 differential. And again, they do have 7 interceptions on the season. Now, Baker Mayfield has only intercepted it once, and that was last week in their only loss. So, again, I'm going with Seattle Seahawks. Both teams can score. I just think the Seahawks take this one at home. Next, we've got Detroit in Cincinnati. Look, there's not much here to say. The line is 9.5 for Detroit. I think you can bump that up even more. Detroit beats up teams. Honestly, they like to embarrass teams. They don't mess around with backup quarterbacks as well. So pump that alt handicap up as high as you can. The next game of the week, we've got Washington Commanders going into LA to verse the Chargers. Now, Jaden Daniels is back, but Scary Terry is out, so look for a big game from Zach Ertz. Joe Alt is out for LA. That's a pretty big notable out for them. He is an amazing O-lineman. Now, these teams have similar defenses in terms of stats. It's just that LA is a little bit healthier and they're at home, so I'm going with the Chargers here, minus 2.5. New England at Buffalo. So this is going to be a pretty good game. It is a divisional game, divisional rivals New England and Buffalo. Drake May and Josh Allen, from what I was looking, they do have similar stats. Now the Bills are getting 8.5 points, and I think that's a lot, especially for a divisional matchup. And for the information I'm about to give you, you will also probably think that's a lot. So I'm going with the Patriots here, plus 8.5. Now I was looking, Drake May and Josh Allen have very, very similar stats, and let's go through them now. So we've got passing yards for Drake May is 988. 964 for Josh Allen. Drake May has a 74% passing rate, or passing success rate. Josh Allen has a 70.2 passing rate, successful passing rate. Both of them have a passing average yardage of 8 yards. Both of them have 7 touchdowns passing on the season. Drake May has 2 interceptions and Josh Allen has 1. Now, in terms of rushing, Allen has carried the ball 7 more times. Drake May has 98 yards. Josh Allen has 159 yards. Drake May has 4.1 average rushing yards, whereas Allen has 5.1. Allen has 1 more TD at 3 touchdowns. So these are extremely similar stats, and it's kind of insane. The defenses also have very similar stats, but I think New England has a better rush defense and no real injuries here. I've got the Pats to cover. The Pats could actually upset this week. This could be one of those games. Now, the final game of the week, we have Kansas City going into Jacksonville. So basically no one on either side of the ball is out for either team. I am going with the Jaguars here, plus 3.5. Now, Jacksonville have at least 2 interceptions on all 4 of the quarterbacks they've faced season. They lead the league with 9 interceptions. The Chiefs have 3. The Jags have only given up 1 rushing touchdown, where the Chiefs have given up 4. The Jags are holding teams to 3.9 yards per carry, and the Chiefs 4.9 per carry. The Chiefs have given up 200 less passing yards than the Jags, and they've only taken 4 passing TDs, where the Jags have taken 7. Now, the Jags are an extremely sneaky contender here. I'm going with the Jags on the plus 3.5, as I mentioned. So last, I'm really bad against the spread. I should mention that as well. Last week we went 4-11, and on the season we're 23-36. I was considering making my picks and flipping them all, but I'm comfortable about the teams I've picked to win. I'm not sure about my against the spread picks. So there's that. Alright. Let's move into the betting section of the show. So lines we like. These are lines that we like that you can use to either just ride a big bet, as we do have in our big spread section, or just to pump up your parlays. Nice little over-unders, TDs, things like that to pick up your parlays. So let's start out with favorite dogs. Our favorite dogs this week are the Cleveland Browns. I do like them a lot this week. Against Minnesota. Again, Minnesota's O-line is absolutely beat up. Cleveland can win this game for sure in London. Next, we've got the Jets against Dallas. The difference between Dallas and the Jets is that the Jets can have a good defense. The Dallas offense can be very, very good. The Jets can also score points. This is a tough one. Again, it is in the factor of sadness 2.0, so I'm likely to go with Dallas here. But again, they are one of my favorite dogs this week. Next, we've got the New England Patriots, as I just mentioned, and you just heard me talk about before, the similar stats with Josh Allen, but the better defensive stats on New England side. This could be a New England Patriots win. And then again with the Jacksonville Jags and their defensive showing against other teams, I think the Jacksonville Jags could hold this one out at home and possibly win the game. Next, we've got big spreads. As I mentioned, Detroit Lions absolutely embarrassed teams. The Minnesota Vikings beat the Bengals this season, I think it was 48-10, so that's an even bigger spread that I've got here. I've only got 35.5 there because that's as much as my sportsbook would allow me to go to. I think that's very gettable for the Detroit Lions. Indianapolis Colts, you can pump theirs up to minus 13.5. I think they destroy this Raiders team. And I think it's in Indianapolis as well. So there's that on the table. Again, Geno Smith is probably going to throw an interception. So, yeah. Next, I've got the Giants, 6.5 points. You can pump them up. They're not the favorite in their game against the Saints, but I think they might be starting to get things right. At least a lot more players bought in. The Russell Wilson era is over. Okay, next, our over-unders. I do like the Vikings and the Browns total points under 35.5. I like the Broncos and Eagles total points under 43.5. I do like the Cowboys and Jets total points over 47.5. Like I said, both teams can score points. And then I also have the Buccaneers and Seahawks total points over 44.5. For our game props, I've got Geno Smith to throw an interception. Again, he has thrown 7 in 4 games. I've got Cam Spaghetti for a touchdown. I've got Darren Waller for a touchdown. Cam Spaghetti is the starting running back for the Giants against the New Orleans Saints. He's very likely going to get a touchdown. He's a weapon. And then Darren Waller is also a weapon. Hasn't played football for about a year. Started last week. Got 2 red zone targets and 2 touchdowns. And I do believe Mike Daniels, the Miami Dolphins coach, probably sees that Darren Waller in the red zone works. And he's probably going to call more plays for him in the red zone. I've got Daniel Jones rushing over 17.5 yards against the Raiders defense. Daniel Jones likes to run the ball. He likes to get some contact in. He likes to get touchdowns. And then I've got Tua Tagovailoa rushing yards over 1.5 as well. He's only not done that in 1 game this season. Okay, going over to our bets, we've got our 5-game parlay right here. And that goes as we say. So I've got the New York Giants money line. I've got the Indianapolis Colts money line. I've got the Dallas at New York Jets total points over 47.5. I've got Tampa Bay at Seattle total points over 44.5. And I've also got the Detroit Lions at -9.5 in one parlay. Ride with it, change it up a little bit, do what you want. I think if you're not 100% happy with the New York Giants money line, you could probably switch that or one of the other lines out for New England Patriots +8.5 against the Bills. Now, our other bet here is our $1 million parlay. Here on the Sean Show, if you're new to the show, we want to become millionaires, and we want to do it the easy way. And how do we do that? We make a parlay that is 100,000 odds. We throw $10 on it. We go to bed. We wake up. We're a millionaire. Boom. Boom. We love football. This week's $1 million parlay. We've got the Detroit Lions at -35.5. We've got Jared Goff to throw 3 passing touchdowns in that affair. We've got Cam Scatterboot to pick up a touchdown. Darren Waller to catch a touchdown. We've got George Pickens for 2+ touchdowns against the Jets. Now, CD Lamb is still out. Ferguson and Pickens have been getting the lion's share of targets, and George Pickens is a weapon. I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes the Pickens versus Garrett Wilson show. Next, we've got Elijah Arroyo, 1 touchdown. Now, this guy is a tight end, and he's been getting targets. He's been getting targets, and he's been getting red zone targets, I think, almost 1 a game. So he just hasn't picked up 1 this season. So I think this is the week that he gets in the end zone. And then next we've got Emeka Egbuka for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Since Mike Evans has been out, he has been getting, again, the lion's share of the targets. He's an absolute beast. And I think the Seahawks and Tampa Bay game is going to be quite a high-scoring game. So, very good chance of him getting 2 touchdowns. Now, chuck that parlay together, put $10 on it, watch the games on Sunday, and become a millionaire just like that. Boom. And that was the Sean Show, episode 7, week 5. Thank you for tuning in. There are some things that I would like to deep dive, or at least make more videos on, and they could just be coming up as future episodes, but keep an eye on the channel. Now, look, if you enjoyed the content, just give the thing a like, chuck in a comment, chuck in a comment saying what you'd like to see, who you think's gonna perform. Say whatever the hell you want, I don't care. I'll probably respond to it, and I'll give it a like. I'll give it a little love heart. Second thing you can do is subscribe to the channel. That would really help me out, and give me an audience to bring all this information to. Now, I might start breaking this up into 2 separate shows in the week, so that one can focus a bit more on maybe Monday Night Football, Sunday and Monday Night Football, where I can give some more deep dive stats, go over the defenses, go over the quarterbacks and the matchups like that. But anyway, again, that was Sean Show Season 2, Episode 7. I will see you next week. Enjoy the football. May all of your picks and bets come true. That's impossible because we've all got conflicting picks and bets, so let's hope mine come true. Screw you. Enjoy the football. I will. Peace out.